Freddie Freeman gets the best of his old team, but Matt Olson continues to show why the Atlanta Braves will be just fine at first base going forward. After another uninspiring performance from Huascar Ynoa, could his spot in the starting rotation be in question? And how does Max Fried look to get this Braves team back on track against the Dodgers? We'll discuss all of that on today's episode of Lockedon Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of the Locked On Sports Atlanta network, where we talk about your favorite Atlanta sports teams every single day. I am your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Check out my bio there to see everywhere I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves in written form over at tomahawktake.com. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Make sure you are subscribed to the Locked On Sports Atlanta YouTube channel, where you will see the postcast after every game with me and Grant McCauley. And thanks for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. We post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and we are free and available on all platforms. On today's episode, we'll be talking about that rough 7-4 loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers, Freddie Freeman's performance facing his old team, Matt Olson remaining red hot as well, Huascar Ynoa stumbling a little bit second time through the lineup, and Max Fried back on the mound looking for his first win of the season. But let's jump into the story in all of baseball, I think, on Monday, and that's Freddie Freeman going up against his old team. And look, I know there's a wide range of feelings on Freddie Freeman. I don't love the way things played out, particularly from his side, but I love Freddie Freeman. I'm always going to love Freddie Freeman, and I'm going to appreciate him for what he did for this franchise. And I thought he handled it well before the game. You can tell he's still shaken up by it. He's still maybe hurt by it. The more I hear him talk about it, the more I just am convinced he thought he would be with the Atlanta Braves for his entire career. And look, I put the blame on his agent, on him, for that not happening. So that's of his own doing. But that doesn't mean it still doesn't hurt for him. And even though he's, closer to his home in LA, he even said it. And you watch the interview he had with Kelly Kroll, and he comes to tears at the end, says he loves Braves country, and he will always love Braves country. And hopefully Braves country will always love him, despite the way things may have played out, because he gave the Atlanta Braves and that franchise 12 really good years. He brought them an MVP, brought them a World Series. So putting everything aside from this past offseason, you can't deny what he meant to the franchise. And, he said he was excited to see the guys, a lot of whom he hadn't seen since the parade. So this, he didn't really get to say goodbye. It's not like he got traded in the middle of the season. He didn't get to say goodbye to a lot of his teammates. So this was his opportunity to see a lot of those guys who he's spent a lot of time with over the past several years. He said he got to talk with Alex Anthopoulos. I thought it was interesting. He said he had a 3-hour FaceTime call with Alex Anthopoulos after things went down and they kind of cleared the air. Man, I would love to hear what that conversation was like, but said that their relationship is in a very great place, and that's good to hear. You want to see things kind of patched up like that. Look, it's a business. At the end of the day, this is a business, and we've talked about that already when the moves happened. And I think Alex Anthopoulos did what was best for the business of the Atlanta Braves. But again, still a very difficult decision on both sides. A lot of hugs, a lot of tears going around, and this will only be worse when he comes back to Atlanta, receives his World Series ring where I hope he gets a standing ovation. He even admitted he knows that there'll be some Braves fans out there who will say negative things about him and be negative towards him. I hope my listeners aren't one of those people. You're free to do what you please, but let's not forget again what this guy did for the Atlanta Braves, for this franchise. I'll hopefully be there. I'll be giving him a standing ovation when he comes back, remembering all the great moments he had in a Braves uniform. After all of that, after all the pregame to do with Freddie Freeman and facing his old team, not to mention Kenley Jansen going back and facing his old team and the Dodgers. Unfortunately, he didn't get to pitch on Monday. And you had Craig Kimbrell, which, it's old news by now. He's been gone from the Braves for a while, but still he picked up the save in this game. So just a lot of big reunions in this game all around. But first pitch is thrown, the game starts, and wouldn't you know, Freddie Freeman laces a home run over the left center field wall in his first at bat against his former team. I mean, just so fitting and a typical Freddie Freeman swing. He walked his next two at bats, and I'm suddenly thinking, okay, the Braves are never going to get Freddie Freeman out. This is going to be somebody who haunts them for the next 6 years. Thankfully, they did get him out in his last two at bats. It was also forgot to mention this before the game. It was a really nice gesture for Freddie Freeman to have Brian Snitker and Kevin Seitzer come out on the field with him as he was presented with his Silver Slugger Award from 2021. I thought that was a really cool moment. So that's the whole ordeal with Freddie Freeman facing his old team. But on the Braves side, Matt Olson continues to show why they'll be just fine at first base going forward. He put aside all the Freddie Freeman drama and saga and everything going around pregame, which again, it was great. Freddie Freeman came up and gave Matt Olson a hug, kind of that passing of the torch. It can't be easy for Matt Olson trying to replace him. And he's even said, I can't replace him. All I can do is be Matt Olson. Well, Matt Olson is going to be just fine. He picked up 3 more hits on Monday night, including a double. He's now hitting .452 on the year. So I think the Braves and Braves fans are going to be just happy with Matt Olson at first base. You couldn't be getting a better introduction to the hitter, who is even better than I thought in Matt Olson. A big night from Austin Riley as well. Had a couple of hits. Got a nice double the other way after a Matt Olson single to set up runners at second and third with no outs in a 3-run 6th inning when the Braves started mounting a comeback. It actually bounced over the wall, and if it hadn't, I think he would have gotten an RBI and perhaps a triple on that play. But good night from Austin Riley. And now going to the bad side of things, Huascar Ynoa, another troubling outing for him, really struggling with his command, struggled that second time through the lineup, which is what I'm always watching with him, with that very limited pitch mix that he has. How does he get through a lineup that second time? And it did not go well, to answer the question simply. He did try to mix in a changeup at times, which looked decent. I know he left one up in the eyes of Justin Turner, who smacked it off the left field wall, but I actually thought that was a pretty decent pitch for him. But you got to wonder if his time in the rotation is coming to an end. I know it's only 2 starts into this season, but you look past over his last 12 starts now, he doesn't have a win and an ERA up over 6. So again, that's a pretty large sample size that we have now to go back and look at. I like the idea of him incorporating another pitch, if it be that changeup. Maybe you option him down, let him try to refine that pitch, that off-speed pitch, while also just working on his overall command, and then call him back up later in the year, or put him in the bullpen where I think, he ultimately ends up, and where I think he could be really good with that power fastball slider combination that usually plays up in a bullpen role. But I do think the leash is going to be pretty short on him going forward. I know Brian Snitker's already said they want to continue with a 6-man rotation past their upcoming off day. So I think at least gets one more shot in the rotation to try to turn things around. But I do think his time there could be limited. The Braves out hit the Dodgers 10-7 in this game, but the Dodgers drew 7 walks and struck out just 7 times, while the Braves didn't get a single walk and struck out 12 times. So that was a big difference in the game as well. It looked like the Braves were going to get blown out on Monday, but they fought back, and a couple of key moments ended up deciding the game. We'll discuss those next. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NBA playoffs and the start of Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the Braves fell behind 6-0 in this game, and they brought in Sean Newcomb, which was kind of the ultimate white flag for me. And that's when I texted my buddy Grant McCauley and said, "Are we really gonna have to stay up for this and do the post game in a brutal blowout loss?" But the Braves actually ended up sticking around in this game. A couple of key moments in the bottom of the fourth, with the Braves already trailing 3-0, a walked Betts and Freeman to load the bases for Braves killer Trey Turner. Or, I'm sorry, he walked Betts. Then Newcomb came in and he walked Freddie Freeman to load the bases for Trey Turner, who is a Braves killer. And he cleared the bases with a double to make it 6-0. And that's when it seemed like the game was over. That's when I texted Grant and was just like, this is not going well. But after scoring 3 runs in the 6th and chasing Clayton Kershaw from the game, Eddie Rosario got a big pinch hit double to put the tying run in scoring position with 2 outs. Guillermo Heredia had a couple of good swings off Brusdar Graterol, but ultimately struck out to end that threat. So I thought those were 2 of the key moments in that game. You can question the decision making from Brian Snitker a little bit in that bottom of the 4th inning, going to Sean Newcomb. I understand the reasoning why there, but I would have gone with Darren O'Day. I think that would probably be a better decision there to try to get out of that jam and see if you can keep that deficit where it was. But again, I understand the decision making by Brian Snitker there. It's a mid-April game. You got 2 more games against this Dodgers team. You don't want to waste your bullets early in the game in that one. But would have liked to seen somebody come in and shut the door there, keep it within striking distance. Because as it turns out, the Braves did make a valiant comeback there effort that did fall just short. They actually brought the tying runs to the plate in the 7th and 8th innings, but couldn't tack on another run, couldn't even it up. So another tough bullpen decision for Brian Snitker. He decided to go with Jackson Stevens in the 8th inning. He gave up a leadoff homer to Cody Bellinger to extend that Dodgers lead. And at that point, really felt like a bigger deficit even than that. But still, it was a good fight from this Braves team to come back, get within striking distance, force the Dodgers to use some of their bigger bullpen arms. That was important as well. Knock Clayton Kershaw out of that game. So I really did like the effort by this Braves team. They didn't roll over after falling behind 6-0, came back, made a game of it, and had an opportunity to come back and win that game late. Walks are a problem, and that's pretty evident at this point. They had 7 more walks in the game on Monday. They now have 41 on the year, which surprisingly is only 6th worst in Major League Baseball. They're averaging 3.4 walks per game. You can blame some of that on the young pitchers that the Braves are using. You can blame some of that on the delayed spring training. Whatever the case may be, they've got to get the walks under control. Can't keep giving out free passes, especially to teams like the Dodgers, who are patient, have good approach at the plate. They're going to work the count. You can't put runners on base freely for teams like the Dodgers or any team in general. So they've got to get these walks under control. Hopefully that comes as the season goes on and some of these pitchers gain some control. But that became a different or a bigger problem on Monday because, like I said, the Braves out hit the Dodgers in this game, but the Dodgers had 7 walks and the Braves had none. So that is a huge difference there when it comes to creating traffic on the bases, creating runs. That is a huge advantage for the Dodgers in that game and what ultimately won it for them in a 3-run game. Now, Monday always seemed like a bad pitching matchup for the Braves, but Tuesday's matchup is the best of the series with a pair of aces going head-to-head. We'll preview that matchup next. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now, see all the parts available for your car or truck, and do us a favor, write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. It's Max Fried versus Walker Buehler on Tuesday night. Another late night for those of us on the East Coast and Central time zones, but should be a very good pitching matchup and a very good game between the Dodgers and the Braves. It's time for Max Fried to have a complete Max-like start. It's time for him to have some things go his way. He's had some bad breaks in his first 2 outings. And it's really just been a couple of innings in these first 2 starts where things have gotten away from him. He's got to limit the big inning, like that 4th inning that Inoa and Newcomb and the Braves had on Monday. Got to limit that big inning, limit the damage against this Dodgers team. But I'm looking for a more complete start from Max Fried, who just really hasn't been Max-like in his first 2 starts. And again, it's really just been those couple of innings. Outside of that, he's looked like the typical Max Fried that we're used to seeing. I would like to see him start throwing that curveball a little earlier in games. It seems like hitters are jumping all over his fastball early, especially early in counts. So I think it's key for him to start mixing in that curveball a little bit more earlier in the game, a little bit more earlier in counts. Looking at some Dodgers hitters who have success against Max Fried: Trey Turner, 10 for 26, Justin Turner, 8 for 19, Max Muncy, 5 for 11, Cody Bellinger, 5 for 16. They've all hit him pretty well. He's been able to hold down Mookie Betts and Will Smith. And that matchup against Freddie Freeman obviously will be a lot of fun to watch. As far as Walker Buehler, we'll see if Travis d'Arnaud gets to play in back-to-back days, as he has the best numbers against Walker Buehler. Dansby Swanson has good success against him as well. Maybe this is the game that gets him going, as he has been painful to watch to start the 2022 season, including a double play in the 9th inning after the Braves got a leadoff base runner against Craig Kimbrell. I doubt Orlando Arcia gets the start, but he has 2 home runs in just 9 at-bats against Walker Buehler. Buehler has struggled with the walks early this year after not drawing a single walk on Monday. I think it would be beneficial for the Braves to be a little bit more patient with Buehler on the mound and see if he can't get himself into trouble. At the very least, get him out of the game early, as the Dodgers had to use their top bullpen arms on Monday as the Braves made a comeback effort. So you get him out of the game, after 5 innings and, the score's tied or the Braves have a small lead, then I think you'll see Dave Roberts go to maybe more of his B arms in the bullpen, giving the Braves a chance to add on late, and obviously giving the Braves a chance to go to their great bullpen that they have. So I think those are some of the keys for Tuesday's game. Max trying to incorporate that curveball more early in counts. Braves hitters being patient with Walker Buehler. trying to get some traffic, put some pressure on him. They were really good against Bueller his last two times they saw him in the postseason. So clearly somebody they're familiar with. So I think it's a good matchup for the Braves. Looking for Max Fried to have his first really complete start of the season. I think it's a great chance for the Braves to pick up a win in this series. Last thing I wanted to mention before we get out of here, don't forget Ronald Acuna Jr. is set to start his rehab assignment in Gwinnett tonight. So while you're waiting for that Braves-Dodgers game to start, make sure that you tune in for Ronnie's first rehab game. That'll be exciting. See him back out there. Hopefully he will be back with the Atlanta Braves very, very soon. That will do it for this episode of Lockedon Braves. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @Lockedon_Braves. And you can follow me at ShortstopBall. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.